Why, hello. We are live. We are here. We are dancing? Is that... There we go. No, we were not live. We are now. But we are now. Hello, everyone. Now we... You have to do the you have to do the dance again? Yeah. Hello, hello. That... Why not? I mean, I feel like that's... at this point, if you can't be heard, I'm actually entirely unsure why.
We can
There we
still
go.
hear
I
you.
fixed it. No, I've got it.
Hooray for the
I
fixies!
fixed it.
Oh, there it is.
I know. Yeah. It's what happens
Pixie
when you
pixies.
jump from one setup to another setup very quickly.
Hooray for the fixie pixies!
Yes. Am I a pixie now?
That's what I heard.
Please no, too much power. Too much. Thank you.
Faye and
One
pixie.
one mythical creature at a time. Thank you.
No. All mythical creatures. Jamie, tell us who you are.
It's me.
It is.
I am a troll. That's the mythical creature that I am today.
Okay. I accept.
Not like an internet troll,
No.
a troll doll.
I had the right image. I was there.
I've even got the troll
I
doll
thought you
going
said
over
child, and I was like, okay.
Also.
So now I have to ask: is that the Myconid troll from Lost Worlds, or are you more leaning more D&D-ish, or more Hans Christian Andersen?
Or troll doll.
Yeah, as I said, 100% troll doll,
Nice.
but like ancient cosmic troll doll.
Ancient
Ooh.
cosmic troll doll. God.
I don't know
Like
what
has
that...
the same power as a Furby.
You know how we've talked about how I don't
We
really
do not
get...
speak of the ancient enemy, Nadine.
You know how we talked about how I don't get most standard
Bro, how do you not know what a troll doll or a Furby is?
I know what a Furby is. You said troll doll. Did you mean like those trolley things?
Yeah,
The
little
little
ones
dolls,
with
and
the
they've
big
got like the pink
full
hair
hair.
or
Okay,
the blue hair.
so
Yeah.
what I heard was troll doll, and I was like, roll doll's troll form?
Roll doll's ultimate enemy, his twin brother, troll.
Because apparently that's what my brain thought of first. So that's where I went.
I mean,
Oh, what have I done?
why? I mean, why wouldn't it? I mean,
you know what
The
you haven't done?
conflict is moderated by Droll Doll.
I haven't
Yeah.
told you who I am. I'm
Correct.
Jamie. I'm a professional voice actor and director. You can find me on Twitter at Muffin Manifesto or my website, jamie-collett.com, which is in the chat that direction, I think.
yes, ish.
Correct. What kind of fake creature are you, Nadine? Tell us.
Well, with my heritage, probably a djinn. Because
My favorite
I'm
beverage.
like somewhat human and full of mischief and power. So yeah,
Very nice. Very
that's me. I'm Nadine. You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. Sometimes, not a whole lot of times. Any_actor. I'm a voice actor, player of TTRPG games, occasional writer, and shitposter. So if you like me, follow me. And my very strange looking head. Why is it doing that? I hate green screens.
I don't
Green screens
know.
don't like
I don't
me.
know, but I love it. I think it's great. It looks good. Looks good.
Thanks.
Sam.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
Hey, I'm Sam. I don't know. Let's say changeling. Am I supposed to admit to that?
No.
HR's gonna be mad.
I'm HR.
No, God.
And she's gonna be mad.
I'm HR. I'm production. I'm management. What do you? Just don't tell anyone. We talked about this.
I'm Sam. You can find me on Twitter at @the_real_Sammy_P. I'm a voice actor and performer from Australia. You can find me also on Unlawful Disorder tomorrow. Currently find me on Daybreak Prep. As I'm returning as Rafe in there.
Returning guest star.
You know, we did back-to-back streams, which was a surprise. But it may have contained my probably out of all the streaming I've done, my favorite 10-minute block.
Okay.
It was so good. Nothing to do with the game, but it was amazing. I loved it.
So good. Sam trolled and Danny responded so well.
I wasn't ready for the fruits of my labor.
I forgot.
Yeah.
And if you happen to be in Brisbane, then Sam is also a changeling or a changing being in Rock of Ages.
Yes.
Michelle?
So end of November, early December-ish.
Michelle?
So yeah, my Michelle Viancourt. You can catch up with me, Michelle V69 on Le Twitter. That's French Twitter. And you can also get a hold of me on my website, michellerviancourt.com. Author, streamer, writer, political pundit, and generally unstoppable rambler about rambly things.
Surprisingly concise for a rambler.
I didn't say I wasn't without my contradictions.
This is fair. I am Shauntelle on everything. That's my name.
She's everywhere. She's everywhere.
I'm everywhere all the time.
Because you are what creature?
Which one?
No!
Time or...
No!
All
Sometimes
That
mythical
was
creatures.
terrifying.
Sometimes I'm Fae. Sometimes Pixie. Sometimes
Well, Pixie is a type of fae.
a
So.
Pixie is a type of Fae, but I'm also talking sort of elven traditional style Fae. I'm a lot of things in a lot of places, and you can find all of them on my link tree, which is on my Twitter bio, which is Shauntelle B. Or Sean Shelby, as the captioner decided my name is, and I think I might change my name because I love that. I love it.
Shauntelle.
Shauntelle. She sings, but in reverse, so I suppose sings she. Chris, save me from myself, please, and give us a game.
Oh, no worries, no worries. My name is Chris Geary, and I am here for the sixth and final time to bring the Omens Rising playtest to Lost Worlds Archives. And you can find me in chat and on Twitter at Chris Geary. You can find me on every other Wednesday, so a week from tomorrow, on Lunar Howl Gaming, playing a Isekai Exalted game. We kick off with our first episode, 8 p.m. Eastern, next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow. So come find out what happens when we disappear from New York Central Park, New York Central Park, and end up in creation. But until then, enjoy what we have for you tonight. And what we have is where we left off. And we left off inside a building that was carved into the side of a bluff that seemingly had crumbled some time ago. And we found our group pursuing the kidnappers of, though they may not call themselves that, of Omar, the prophesied child. And when we left off, we had an encounter about to begin, and our cast here had designated their preparatory actions as we kind of set the scene of a large summoning circle engraved into the stonework of the ground, series of items being placed at different positions along the circle. One of our historian types of the group recognized that this is kind of like or rumored to be like a telephone number. Or an address. It's telling the circle where to go. And they're in the midst of casting this teleportation spell as the party interrupts. What you will see on our table tonight is our basic encounter spread. And it starts with 5 cards. It can be expanded or contracted if necessary, depending on the size of the encounter. We're going to leave it with the base 5 cards. The first card is about any advantages the party might have related to the scene around them. So they've kind of set what their preparatory actions will be. And we have the 7 of diamonds casting its fate, or shall we say happenstance, upon the group. As we are easily a few stories beneath the surface of this carved stone structure, diamonds is quite fitting, as it is the element of land. The 7, chance, happenstance, chaos, is going to play a bit of a role tonight in what we see. There was a purplish light coming from the circle itself. For those who are more commonly experienced with ritual magic or casting magic in Omens Rising, purple is the color of the aether. It is the color of magic. And it makes sense that there's this hue that can be seen as aether is being pulled to this place from, as was explained last session, likely a ley line that runs somewhere near this position, if not directly beneath it. So I want to go back around the table and kind of remind ourselves of where we had positioned. If I remember correctly, Morgan and Indy had entered the circle to confront the 3 hooded figures abducting Omar. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, that sounds correct to me. I remember
And
advancing
you
on
had,
computers.
yes, and Morgan had their mischief with them, or is mischief doing something else?
No, he had drawn the spear of Bast as he approached, but
Mhm.
I don't think mischief has made an appearance in this.
Okay,
particular
because
scene.
mischief was helping track.
Yeah, he helped that. Sorry, mischief's helped us get down here, but has since disappeared into the shadows. They're still here somewhere. We'll find out about mischief whenever.
Okay. Lovely, lovely. And so the spear of Bast is out. as Morgan approaches. And I believe Indy had staff and shield drawn, yes?
That's right.
Also advancing. John Doe, I believe, was moving toward one of the piles. It was the piles of like crystals and gems to look into possibly disrupting one of the, shall we say, address numbers, so to speak.
Yes.
Was that correct?
Yes. While, I guess, chatting with one of the people.
Yes. And Eniton was sizing up the ritual and looking for different ways to try and intervene or delay or interrupt the ritual.
Yes. Yeah.
I can't remember, Michelle, had you chosen a course of action that you were preparing to take, or were you still analyzing when we ended?
For lack of a better way of putting it, I was literally hedging my bets because I knew we were going to wind up with brand new cards, so I didn't matter what. So until I saw what cards I have no idea what my strong options were going to be.
Fair enough.
So
fair enough.
I wanted to take a look and see what it was I had in my hand before I got started. Now,
No problem.
mechanically, for lack of a better way of putting it, I've got two remarkably useless cards here. And so if I want to take action, I would draw cards from the deck to augment what I have. Yes.
Yeah, you would add 2, so you had a hand of 4.
Okay.
And then you would decide what you wish to.
Okay.
Well, you would choose your action, then draw to decide what part of self you plan on using to complete said action.
Right.
And then play your card.
Okay. All right. I think I think what Anitan would be wanting to do, honestly, is he's subtle is his thing. So I think what he was going to want to do is to take advantage of his very his sort of ethereal background, with his, and start trying to repossess some of the magic that they are concentrating here in this, literally to it basically give them a leaky gas tank, as it were, to slow down their departure, I think, is how I'm going to do this.
Excellent.
So, so not striding into the middle of everything and drawing attention, just kind of off to a side, doing whatever required hand waving and muttering under his breath is required to, like I say, to start diverting the flow of magic.
Gotcha. So siphoning off of the energy they're pulling, so to speak. Love it. That leaves Sufia, who was sitting on the steps near the entrance, if I recall correctly.
Correct.
Was there a particular action that Sufia was contemplating?
I know they had just drawn on the floor.
Yes.
A kind of little picture of.
Right. Yes.
Of Omar's parents on one side. Captors, absconders on the other side, and Omar in the middle. There was no real action in it.
As I recall, you were almost sort of doing a divination, trying to get a sense of which way was tugging. Which way did Omar want to go?
I don't think they were like fully divining.
Okay.
It's just mostly like an outward thinking.
Gotcha. Okay.
Seeing what would happen, seeing if anything did happen. Just throwing a marble down a hill, seeing which way it goes.
Excellent. As that takes place, what we have added by the 7 of diamonds is, for those who have a more broader position where they can see more of what's going on, you'll notice that there are other carvings within the room, not just the summoning circle. Some of them are relief of images of like places and different peoples, and they depict a variety of activities. There's a cityscape with, in the foreground, kind of a farmer of sorts looking out to the horizon, where the cityscape kind of sits in its silhouette. There's a clock tower. There's a bluff with a star positioned directly above it. There's a multitude of technological advancements, kind of in a collage of progress, moving from simple tools to trains and airships, in kind of like a progression. And behind Sufia, you feel the air kind of shift and move, not necessarily with purpose, like someone is there or there's a fan blowing of sorts, but almost as if the hallway that you walked down to get here had opened up more like a tunnel. And there was openings at both ends, and the air was now able to travel from end to end.
Okay.
You'll find
That's suspicious.
all of you will find along your periphery the hint of purple light framing whatever it is you see. As soon as you look at it, it goes away, but it's there, just on the edge. And that leads us to the challenge mechanic. So the encounter itself is the spread, and we do have a challenge before us. The challenge in this case is our folks in front, which is a, let's see, we're going to go with which is, oh, I cannot see it. Come back here. I lost you. There you are. Which is a combination of things. It is our base of 5, or our base of 3 doubled in this case because of the situation and its importance, and the number of players which we have are 5. So our challenge rating becomes an 11. Each time that you take an action to combat the challenge in front of you, which is these captors, absconders, waylayers, abductors, whatever term you'd like to make for the cloaked figures, and them trying to escape with baby Omar. How you defeat that will be up to the actions that you take. Each success will take it down by 1. There are 3 tiers of success. So the first tier will take that number down by 1. Second tier will take it down by 2. Third tier will take it down by 3. Once that gets to 0, you've defeated the actual challenge itself with your actions. But the scene does not end until we've played the 3 cards that can change what may or may not go, or what's going on around you, as well as the final card, which is kind of like it informs the result. So whether that be treasure when dungeon delving, or a reward when turning in some sort of bounty or quest. All of that can play a role. So,
I have
yes.
a thing that I'd like to do.
All right. Before we do that, though, I want
yes.
to play the card that's for our first round of actions.
Sick.
So, and that will kick us off for our first round of actions.
As someone that's had a playtest before and played with 2 different sets of mechanics, are we using the second set or the first set?
We're using a revised version of the second set.
Thank you very much.
So Shauntelle was part of the very first time that we piloted these mechanics, and it's gone through a number of changes since then. So the 4 of hearts means that there is, which is balancing of emotions. This is obviously something that has some tension going on. Keep in mind that balanced emotions is kind of your path toward victory. So as players, do what you will with that. Nadine, you wish to do something.
Now, from what I understand, magic takes time.
Correct.
Now, if you'll allow me to, in my previous action in drawing this stuff on the ground, you would know that my character is connected to drawing and divination, and also uses the land as some of their tools of divining, I guess. Could we say that that kick-started something? It wasn't technically going to go anywhere, but like it crank-started the magic.
Something's if Sophia looks down, every time Sophia looks down, the stick figures are in different positions. So something has already started, intentional or not.
That's suspicious as well. So what I would like Sophia to do right now, they're still they've kind of moved from a sitting position down to a kneeling position. And they're like burying their hands in the sand on this ground, either side of this shifting painting, if you will. When it is time, I don't know when that time is, when the Aether is calling to them the most, they'd like to grip, like almost snatch the stick figures of the abductors and grip that sand in their hand, with the idea that that is sand that is directly connected to the abductors, almost like voodoo-y. And just holding it for now.
Okay. So
and that can take 10 minutes, that could take however long.
Yeah. So the first thing I would like for Sophia to do is to just draw a card from the top of the deck and play it.
Okay. And just play it?
Yeah, just play it. Okay.
6.
So we've got a
spades.
6. 6 of spades. All right.
This is good. This is good. This is good for what I want because it's mental, and this is going to be mental. The actions that I want are mental
Excellent.
based.
That's good to know. Eniton, or Michelle, do the same for Eniton. Just pull one right off the top.
Sure.
And place it down.
Yep. Oh, that didn't do what I wanted.
I think you put it in your hand.
Yeah, hang on a second. There we go. It's because I had my the hand open, visible. There we go. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So, okay. So what I see here is the 6 card being the path card. Sophia, you're seeking a path to stop these folks, and 2 being the card of connections. Eniton is attempting to connect with the Aether to then siphon it off. So these are going to kind of be the stack of the points that you're amassing. And once you hit the threshold that you would need, and we're going to call it an 18 for Sophia, is the threshold you're going for. You will be able to add in a relevant aptitude on top of that 6, and the same for Eniton. I don't know if spades is the intended suit, but regardless, this will still count as full points on the card, regardless of which intended suit you go for in this case. And we'll just chalk that up to the preparations. And part of that is because of the 7, and part of that is because of the presence of one of your members who has their mere presence amplifies the power of the Aether when they are around. So I'm kind of taking some liberties with those 2 aspects and granting kind of an edge to the 2 of you. Okay. Nice. So it doesn't count against any of your actions. It can't hurt what you're doing.
Would you like me to explain what I want to do?
Right now you're pulling the energy to attempt to.
This is just pulling the energy.
Yeah, that's what we're doing at this point.
Nice.
You need to pull enough energy to be able to act upon it. And so 18 is the minimum energy you would need to be able to grip all 3 of them. And then using the sand, we'll talk about its conduit and what kind of buff you're going to need to add to basically what additional points you'll need to, because it's sand. It's not the strongest of things. If it was, whoops, I hit my camera. If it was, you use the reference of a voodoo doll. If it had parts of who they were or things like that, it'd be a stronger connection to them. You know what I mean? So you'll then add points for that. And then the effect itself, you'll want to reach a minimum number for that. So it could be 3 rounds. It could be more depending on how many points you'll need. Okay. So let's start with those in the circle, and we're going to move outward. So we're going to start with Morgan and Indy. Which of you would like to go first?
You go ahead, Jamie.
Stop talking over each other, okay?
I just think it's funny if Indy goes first.
Why is it funnier?
Because you're indecisive.
Indy.
But I'm just trying to work out exactly what Morgan's planning to do. So the 3 of them, one of them's holding the baby. Are they also doing like the chanting and stuff, or are they just focused on Omar?
They seem primarily focused on Omar. at least at this time.
And there are 3 of them in that space.
3 total within the circle. One of them seems to be moving from section to section, amassing these piles. Another seems to be ritually chanting.
The person that's chanting, Indy would like to swipe the staff underneath and then, in theory, rather than me just slamming my glass to the floor, swiping staff underneath their legs and then just putting a hand over their mouth.
Okay. So let's go ahead and draw up to 4. Which aptitude is Indy going to use?
Let's go with completely not helpful or necessarily even appropriate, but peacekeeper.
Okay.
Not actually trying to hurt them, just trying to stop them.
Makes sense. And what is your base peacekeeper?
My base is 6.
Excellent. And which part of self are you using? The physical self?
Yes.
The mental self? Okay. And which card would you like to play?
I would like to play this king.
Excellent. So I'm going to keep those in the circle to the left of the 11, just for my own mental tracking. So that's a 13 plus 6. That's a 19. And that will be against. And they're going to use fortitude and the steadfastness of their beliefs to buoy themselves. But they only have a 17, so you have a success. So we're going to keep that in mind and go around the table. When we're done, we'll then resolve this round. Okay?
I should drop a card, right?
Yes, discard 1, please. And that's now a 10. Morgan.
Yeah, I think as Morgan sees Indy go for the chanting one, and I don't know, I think he doesn't really understand the magic stuff going on, and he's gonna leave that to the people who somewhat understand the magic stuff going on. So given that the other 2 are busy doing that magic stuff, Morgan's gonna advance on the one holding Omar. With the spear raised and say, the child doesn't belong to you. Hand him over. And I don't know how this translates to action. You know.
Okay. Are you trying to like persuade them, intimidate them, using your words, backed by your physical presence? What is your intended outcome?
Yeah, I think I don't think he believes he can persuade them, but intimidate them into handing Omar over. It sounds like it makes sense to me.
Okay.
Which I feel like might be confident, I guess.
Okay. That sounds good.
It sounds like it makes the most sense to me. Can I motivate this person into giving me the child? No, I don't think that makes sense. All right.
Well, I mean, it is a form of motivation. We just think of motivation in the positive sense. We don't think of it in, but you can be motivated by fear. Absolutely.
That's true. Okay. Yeah. So as he advances on this person, yeah, I think I am going to use motivator, but I'll wait till I see my cards before I
Okay.
explain how I was gonna. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Um,
So drop the 4 and then
draw 2 more. I've got to remind myself what the different suits are. Perfect. This was exactly what I was hoping for. I'm going to play the Ace of Clubs.
excellent.
Where do I put it?
Just put it to the left of the king.
Okay.
And
I think it was covering. There we go. Ace of Clubs.
Yep.
Because as Morgan advances, saying that, the spear of burst like starts to light up from the shaft all the way along the tip of it in like a sort of an ethereal glow.
Mhm.
And then there's like a rumbling growl from behind the person holding Omar, and like looming from the shadows behind them, we can see Mischief like just growling at this person. Yeah.
Excellent. And what is your base motivator?
Yeah, let me figure that out. My creepy fear motivation. I love it. Not what I was expecting to use this skill for. I love it. 9 with a +1, so 10.
Okay, so that's a 24.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to also use their ethereal self with the King of Clubs. And they have a 25 total and eke out by 1 point. And what happens is you see their eyes kind of watch the spear and their ear kind of lean up and to the side, recognizing the sound, the rumbling sound of Mischief. And then they blink out of existence and appear behind you.
God damn it.
Say, ooh, a formidable opponent. I was not expecting that. You don't come, you do not hail from around here, do you?
He like spins around, and Mischief like pads up next to him, so they're like the two of them facing this person, and he says, where we're from doesn't matter, just where we're going.
Ah, yes. Future focused. Is that your prophecy? Future focused?
He's like just scowling.
And John Doe.
I got
Yes.
a card. Hey,
Yes, please discard a card.
put it on the side. The 10 of Hearts.
What do you what does John Doe do for their action?
So you'll be heading towards this. It was like node, essentially. And we talked about before that it's not just as simple as just like kicking over this pile of material. You actually have to sort of like break.
Somehow disconnect it from the energy that's being drawn. Yes.
Yeah. So that's essentially what he is attempting to do. The degree of ethereal familiarity here. So he's wanting to break it, not just physically, but also ethereally as well.
Okay. Is there something in particular, a particular way that John Doe would like to do that?
I think to like, a casual observer, it does look like he's sort of reaching out to sort of push this thing over or something, but he's actually like, it'd probably look like he's gone to knock this thing over and missed, because it's just off to the side a bit. But anyone sort of looking, or like maybe out of the people's corner of their eye, or if you're actually looking at it in like looking at like the ethereal energy, can see that like there's this like purple flickering, almost smoke-like thing around his arm as he does this, and he's just essentially almost like clawing at this connection.
I like it. So yeah, definitely. What aptitude? I see you've drawn to up to 4. What aptitude would you like to?
I think probably ethereal.
Ethereal, excellent. In this case, we're looking at static. We're with a static 14 for what you're trying to accomplish. It's not sentient in a sense of what you're attacking. So, go. What is your base ethereal?
It is 9.
9. So you're looking to meet or beat a 5 in your hand of clubs.
I'll use the 8.
Oh, queen. That works. So that's
not 8, queen. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's 12 on top of that. So that's a 21. That is exactly 50% above. So that's 2. That's second tier. So that would drop that from a 10 to an 8. As you knock at the connection. Why did that? Well, 20 has gone weird on me. 8, please. There we go. So yes, so that puts you puts quite a success there. And shifting now to Eniton.
Okay. So for lack of a better way of putting it, I need mechanically, is concentration part of ritual magic or not? In other words, if someone is distracted while conducting a ritual, does it impair them at all?
If distraction to impair the ritual is the goal, then it can, yes. But it has to be active distraction. It can't be passive distraction. Does that make sense?
Yes. So
something off in the distance isn't going to do it.
No. I was literally considering having it raining in here.
Okay.
I need to use that. I'm at Anitan is siphoning away magic from their. They're dragging all of this aether, this magic, into a concentrated battery or whatever you want for them to use, they are siphoning it off, and so though they're basically at this point accumulating a fair puddle of the stuff that they can work with. So the idea is to use as long as they keep channeling, it's going to keep raining in here is the idea. I suspect after a while that is going to complicate things in some way. Correct.
So what I would want from you is to draw up to 4. Okay. I like the direction that you're headed with this. Which aptitude are you going to connect to do this? I mean, some of
once
them
I see
make a lot more sense.
I mean, obviously the obvious one would be Aether, but we pull the cards and see what the cards are going to let me get away with, as it were.
Well, any aptitude can be connected to any suit. It's the part of self that is segmented by suits.
Yeah.
So-
Okay. So, okay then. So,
For example, go ahead and drop to 4. So for example,
Okay.
if you were using diamonds
Do I-
in this case, you would be but aetherial is your aptitude. You'd be
Mhm.
using the base of your aetherial aptitude to try and, as close to realistically possible, recreate what the physical sensation of rain is in the room.
right.
If
Okay.
you were if it was something else, you might so
Now,
go ahead and
is there-
put those
is
into
there-
hand.
Oh, into my hand? Okay.
Yes, into your
Got it.
hand.
Got it. Okay. Sorry. Understood. I wasn't sure how that worked. If you,
Yeah.
okay. One sec
Nope.
here. One sec. Yeah, roll 20 is cranky about this. So
Yeah,
this
just
goes here.
right click on one of them and it should say put in hand.
Oh, okay. Take card. There we go.
Yeah, that's it. Take card.
Got it. Okay. All right. So I can, so I'm not limited by suit trying to fit into ethereal is, ethereal is normally clubs. I'm not stuck with clubs, as it were. I can play anything just because it's a high card.
As long as it makes sense to the narrative that you're doing.
Okay.
So if it does not make sense, then we're just reaching for the sake of reaching.
Okay.
But like,
all right. So
you
so I have a Queen of Hearts here that is
Mhm.
tied to water. Water is rain.
yes,
Does that work?
absolutely. And
All
you're
right.
also connecting to the emotional self, which is probably, rain is relaxing for a lot of people, or it could
Mhm.
be distracting, which is what you were kind of going for.
Right.
So like however you wanted to craft that would be perfectly fine.
Okay. So then I put this beside the 2.
Yes. Play that
Okay.
beside the 2.
All right. One sec here.
Yep.
Bop.
So that's going to be a 12. And with the effect that you're going for, what you would need is a 14 total.
Mhm.
And so you have a 14 plus whatever your base aetherial was.
My base aetherial, I have rank 3, which gives me 9.
So that will give you a +2 bonus to
Mhm.
your next piece, which is for you, which will be basically shifting to the effect because the conduit is what's in the room already. You're kind
Right.
of piggybacking off of what they're doing.
Yeah.
So you get to skip one step and go right to the effect. So because it's not in your control. So if their conduit collapses, so does your spell. But you
that's
get to
what I
skip
want.
a step. Yeah, that's exactly
but that's
what you want.
literally what Editon is
Yep.
is gunning for,
Yep.
if you will.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you have a +2 on next round's play, which is to create the rain effect.
Okay. Cool.
So that brings us to our artiste.
It's me.
Yes.
Okay. Shit. All right.
So
So what's happening right now in terms of aetherial energy within the sand?
you feel it starting to course through the sand. It's giving the image more rigidity. It's also adding detail in some cases.
Mhm.
Your stick figures for your adversaries or opponents are all hooded now. One is carrying a baby. One is laying on the floor.
Nice. Can't imagine why.
The other 2, which represent the parents, are hugging at this point. And you get the feeling that Omar's looking at you, like the little stick figure Omar.
Okay, cool. So let's like just very gently press my like fingerprint against the stick figure's little baby Omar stick figure, the
Mhm.
eyes, where the eyes are, almost like closing them.
Okay.
I'd like to snatch up the sand where the adversaries are,
Okay.
and then with
So
the other, yeah.
Mhm. So the first thing that we need to do is make sure you have enough energy for it.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically a 3-round process that you're going through.
Okay.
So right now is conjuring the energy. So draw 2, so you have a hand of 4.
See.
And I mean, diamonds here make sense. Aetherol makes sense, or clubs for aetherol makes sense. Spades for mental makes sense. Emotions and water is probably the one that's more of a reach, but the other 3 suits all can make sense based on how you wish to script this.
And in terms of numberage,
Aces are high.
Aces are high, and face cards are 10.
Are above 10. So
Above 10.
Jack is 11, Queen is 12, King is 13, and aces are 14.
Right. Then in that case, very good, because I want to get into their head. Ace of spades.
Okay. So that gives you 20 plus your base rating, which I think you said did you say you're using Aetherol, right? As your
Yes. Yeah. Aetherol.
And what's the base rating of that?
9.
9. Okay. So that's 29 and you needed an 18. That's exactly 50% be above. And 9 points above, which would then give you an additional 2 plus 2 to your next to the next step, which is basically making the sand hold up to the energy, fortifying the sand.
Okay.
Both of you are successful on furthering your spell, though it hasn't technically affected the challenge yet. But because of that, all of these will come due when the spell goes off. So there is a delayed effect with it, but it all comes at once. So also note, or I have a note here so far. So success-wise, we have 1 from Anaton and 2 from Sufia. So that we will be subtracting when the spell goes off. All right, so back to basically the top of the order. So at this point, discard down to 2. And I'm going to have to reset the table because the way that Roll20 works. So give me a second to shuffle in the excess cards. And to discard, just drag and drop them out of your hand, Michelle.
Yep.
The ones that you don't want to, all but the 2 you want to keep.
Okay. So, okay. And then all but the 2 I want to keep. Okay. And there we go. Okay.
All right.
I think that's what I want.
What I'll do then is normally I wouldn't have to recall everything on the table, because it would be physical cards.
Right.
But because Roll20 is kind of limited, give me a second to find them again in the deck and drag them out, kicking and screaming, and play our, I'm not going to resize them. Oh, come on, Chris. Stop trying to be a perfectionist. And the 4 of hearts, where are you? There we go. Okay, so we've got those back. So now back to the top of the order. And inside the circle, Indy, you've successfully swept the leg and cover the mouth of the person chanting. You can feel the vibrations of their voice in your hand. I should play the next card, though, so you know what is at play here. We have the 7 of clubs. So we've seen lots of 7s so far in this game. chaos, chance, happenstance, luck. All of that kind of thing is a kind of in play here. New beginnings, birth, and the unknown are also an element of. No, that's aces. Sorry. But it's of the aetherial self, the element of fire, aetherial self, and passion. So we've got aether coursing through this area. It's flaring, shall we say, for those who are attuned to it in this moment. And emotions are heating up. You are dealing with true believers, shall we say.
Does it look as though the spell that they're casting is continuing?
It looks as though it is slowing,
Okay.
from what you can tell, but it has not stopped.
It's not stopped. Okay. I mean, Indy has absolutely no intention of doing what my brain goes, that's the most practical thing. If you've got your hand over someone's mouth, just like break it. But I don't know why that's my first instinct, but sure. I've been playing a lot of really nice characters recently. Maybe they've just I need no. Indy doesn't though. So these believers are very connected to the aether in general, right? That's why Omar could...
The aether and fate.
Aether and fate.
They specifically believe themselves to be connected to the petite moon and to the fate associated with it. And because of that and that connection that they have, that they can see both past, or all past, present, and future, which allows them certain abilities, one of which you, Morgan, just witnessed.
Could Indy put their forehead to this person? This person's forehead.
They do not seem to be actively trying to move or struggle. Mm-hmm. It's almost as if they want you to believe that you've stopped them from doing what they've intended to be doing.
Okay. Essentially, what I would like to do is put my forehead to, I thought you were going to say, it's almost as though they don't have foreheads. I was for a moment, but like...
No.
That'd be weird.
I was about to have
that would be
a
very
lot
weird.
more questions. I'd like to put my forehead to theirs and then just start to say things that, like, try to talk to them through telepathy.
Mm-hmm.
Counter to what it is that they're doing or what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So basically walking into a room where someone's trying to focus and going, I'm here and I'm annoying you.
Indy is putting their head against the others and going, do you like pina coladas?
That's basically it. Yeah.
I love it.
Hey, can I tell you about shields? I will tell you everything I know about shields.
Do you have a moment for Jesus Christ?
Do you have a moment for Jesus?
We've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty.
Exactly. Exactly. Do you have just a moment? I'd like to tell you everything about this new phone line that we've got coming in. It's better than what you have by 3%, but there are terms and conditions, and I have to read them out. If you could just give me a moment and then agree. Say you agree. That's basically what Indy's doing.
I love it. What I need from Indy, because oddly enough, the hood hasn't fully fallen back yet at this
They might
stage.
not have a forehead.
They do have a forehead.
Okay.
This is not a Halloween inspired situation, but I do want Indy to give me just like a D12. I need a random number from 1 to 12. You can just pick one. You can roll a number. You can roll it in roll 20. I don't care what. Just give me a number from 1 to 12. 4. Excellent. And eeny, meeny, miny. Himbo. Okay, then. When their hood falls back and Indy, you go to place your forehead to theirs, you will notice younger than what you expected. The person, femme presenting, copper tone skin, kind of like, a nice kind of medium brown, with a facial tattoo in a very similar style, but of a different creature than what you've seen on Morgan.
Good fun.
You're pretty sure that they were at one point, if not currently are, part of the Kisnoek.
Mm-hmm.
And for your action, let's go ahead and draw 2 cards. What you're trying to annoy them. So which aptitude are you using to pull that off?
I would like to use empath.
Okay.
Because subtle wouldn't work right now.
And yeah.
My empath is a 15. That should be right.
It's a rank.
That would be the rank.
It's a rank 5.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Can I lean into the fire idea? With a 10.
Okay.
I'm messing up a smoke signal.
Okay.
Essentially.
Like
way.
Obscure their thoughts, to play with their connection to the aether.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
I dig it. So it's a 25, and their resistance is going to be. I should have probably drawn cards for myself. Not enough. So I have an 8. And that's so that's a 17 to your 25. Not quite enough to you need at least a 9 to make it above 50% beyond, which would be a what? 26. Is this clubs is not your affinity suit?
No, it's spades.
Okay. What does your guide give a bonus to?
My guide is the Ace of Clubs, and it it's a conduit of new beginnings. Light lends path. When I'm facing the unknown of a new endeavor or a challenge, I gain a 1.
Does that fit?
I feel like it does, largely because I don't know if this is going to work. They're not silent. They're not a silent walker. I don't know how much they actually pay attention to any of this. Whether they can ignore it.
So we'll call that enough for a 26, which is what you need to be 50% beyond in order to have it a tier 2 success. So that'll drop it by 2 points. As you'll see them look at you kind of like a "what are you doing" as they hear you inside their head. So you've clearly gotten their attention. Morgan.
Yeah.
No, go ahead and discard Shauntelle.
I think Morgan finally responds. Like he and Mischief have been slowly like advancing back towards this person who just teleported behind him and keeping eyes on him. And I think Morgan gets caught up in his emotions a bit here, and he says, "Don't be an idiot. Where we're going isn't about the future. It's about right now. And I'm not sure you're paying attention." And there's like a feint where Mischief sort of tries to round that guy, but what Morgan actually is going for is a sideways lunge to just basically body tackle the other guy, the one that was moving things around.
Okay.
And trying to literally tackle him off the platform.
Okay, like out of the circle, push him out of the circle.
Yeah.
I dig it. So go ahead and draw 2 cards. And Shauntelle, you discarded 2. I assume that you'll want to keep the 9, not the 3. So if you want to right click and take that card. And so which of your aptitudes would you like to use to accomplish this? Because there's a bit of subtlety with the feint. There's also fortitude with the tackle aspect of it. There's dynamo. There's a variety of them in play.
Yeah. How much of this game is about succeeding, Chris?
This game is about telling a good story.
Yeah.
Success is an element of story, but it is not the only element of story.
Yeah, that's where I land. I because my fortitude's higher, but I don't feel like this is a moment where Morgan is enduring something particularly harsh to him. I think this is about like dynamic action. So I'm going to go with Dynamo.
Okay.
And I will play this diamond that I picked up because it's about just tackling this guy in the realm.
What is your base?
My base is 6 for Dynamo, so it's a 15.
Okay. 15. Excellent. Let me draw to defend. trying to figure out which of these actually works. Because of their nature, they're going to try and anticipate this with the 8th roll, with their 8th roll self, and what would be, probably we're going to go with inquisitive, seeing everything that's around them. But that's only a 12. So they were not fast enough picking up on what you were doing, and you succeeded in interrupting what they're doing and pushing them out of the circle. You didn't quite tackle them as much as you shoved them, and they're down to one knee outside of the circle. Like they stumbled out and kind of fell down to one knee.
I'd like to Morgan like gripped the spear sideways and sort of shoved him with that, and so now they're like grappling over the spear.
I love that. And Morgan, being standing, has the upper hand.
Is this pile down the bottom? Is that where we were discarding?
Yeah, that's fine. Perfectly fine. Excellent. And so that gives us, we're down to, I want to move this over. We're on this round. 5. And we are to Jundo.
So in trying to disrupt this node, is it done with, or is it sort of like
yes, with your success, you successfully have redirected, like unattached the Aether from this node, and it's redirected just to the circle itself. Which some of it seems to be leaking off of the circle behind you, like and headed behind you toward Anaton.
Is there what would be closer, like the people, or like another node?
The other 2 nodes are across the circle. So in this case, what would be closest is the hooded figure with Omar that is technically being flanked by Mischief. Except the flanking partner fainted and went after the other person. So
Mischief is just a scary distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Words to live by.
All right. Yeah, I think I'm going to move up to that, the nearest person.
Mm-hmm.
And similar to, I guess, Indy, I'm going to try and sort of, I think, just rock their concentration.
Okay. By trying to knock them to the ground while they hold Omar?
No, I think continuing with has just torn out this with this, like, in the same way that sort of disconnected the node from its ethereal channeling, do the similar thing but to the person.
Mm-hmm.
So sort of disrupt their connection as well, in that they're channeling ether into this thing. Sort of similar result, but from the other end. Instead of disrupting the finished product, disrupt the what they're putting into it.
Gotcha. I dig it.
Would probably still be ethereal, and I'm going to go with. I'm just going to double check. I'm looking at the right suit. Yeah, hearts for emotion.
Okay.
The King of Hearts.
Excellent. And
So ethereal is base 9.
okay. So that's a 22. Is hearts your affinity suit?
No.
Okay. Just want to make sure we don't forget about that +2 bonus. He will attempt to defend also with hearts and using fortitude with a 15. Need 8 beyond that, which is a 23. Do you have another +1 anywhere that you can pull out, or are we at a 1 bonus only, or a tier 1 success only?
I don't.
What is your guide?
The guide is to pulls relating to myths and magics of unknown origin.
I would say that applies.
Okay.
This whole thing is a magic of unknown origin. Like, you kind of know some of the rumors, or not rumors, but some of what's been passed down.
Yeah.
But to actually say that you understand it, I mean, it applied to you trying to figure out what it was. I feel like it should apply to you trying to disrupt it. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
And so that takes us down to a 3. And it's on.
You had told me that I have a +2 on next round's rain effect. So
Yep.
I'm going to continue working towards the objective of making it rain. Well,
I love it. So you can stick with the same aptitude. You can adjust aptitudes, but draw 2 more cards and add them to your hand. So you have a
Okay.
hand of 4 to choose from. And go ahead and play whichever.
Take card. Okay, there we go. And then, okay. Oh, that's weird.
Don't take
that.
it. You might have to drop it on the mat first, and then grab it.
Then take card. Okay, there we go.
And so and then just tell me how you want it to manifest.
Let's see here. Well, I think at this point we are moving from the ethereal into the physical. We have been amassing the energy. We've been pulling it away from them. We've been intending rain. Everything that is required for rain to happen is here except the water itself. So I think what I want to do is to shift into the physical.
Okay. That makes sense to me. And so we're probably, or we're going to look at we're going to stick with a 14 as your target number.
Okay. And so, and I think this falls into the category of Dynamo. They are trying to make something happen in this moment that is going to bluntly change the course of history. Literally, we're literally playing with it. We are fighting a prophecy here, or maybe we're playing into it. We don't know. We're about to find out. So I think I'm going to go with Dynamo. So that would therefore be a Queen of Diamonds on the table.
Okay.
And then Dynamo, I have a base of 9 in that.
Okay, so that's a 21,
and then there was a +2 onto that, you had said.
So that's a 23, and that reaches a tier 2 success by a few points. So that's now up to a 3-point effect. And that seems amongst what's happening, seems as this rain comes out of nowhere, it seems to disrupt the ritual. We still have our folks here, one of which has Omar in their hands, but their ritual seems to have been disrupted and the energy seems to be circling around us. So we're going to move on to Sufia. And you were fortifying the sand with your spell.
Oh dear. What she's going to do is so extra now. Now that the ritual is finished. But I think she's very. They're so in it right now. That they're more aether than sense. If it. If the cards play correctly. Should I just draw 2 cards now?
Yeah, go ahead and draw 2 cards.
Okay. Oh, it's a lot of emotions there. Okay. Okay, so previously, the whole point of this Sufia's idea was to blind them with their own images of their deaths, right? And in order to do so, they needed to paint them and make them physical enough for them to pick it up and connect it with themselves to do that, right? However, I feel like with that many emotion cards, I have to play emotion now. So I think Sufia's taken it a little personal now, and hasn't really hasn't read the room right now, that everything is slowing down. So if I play, I'm going to play a 10 of hearts.
And which aptitude are you sticking with Aethral? You said you were kind of lost in the Aether. I didn't know if that's what that meant.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Aethral.
And that's a base 9?
Base 9 indeed.
Okay.
My affinity suit is hearts.
Okay, so that makes it a 21.
Plus the 2 that I got from last time.
23.
And I'm also going to say that my guide is of hearts as well. And that is a +1 to pulls related to myths and magics of unknown origins, the same as John Doe.
Yes.
And I'm going to say it's the myths and magics of death. So that would be a 24.
Yeah. Yes, 24.
So like I said, a bit extra. What does that give Sufia?
Well, what that does at this stage is it provides enough. You fortified the sand enough. You'll notice like each of their stick figures have shifted into death poses. And they're skeletal now inside their hoods. Their stick figures look more skeleton, like rib cages have been added to them and that kind of stuff, in order to kind of give that feeling. And they're much more tangible. And when we come back from break, we're going to have Sufia, we're going to start with Sufia finishing that spell.
Okay.
And what the next round is of the actual scene itself. All right.
Okay.
So stay tuned, folks, and we will come back to the wrath of the Death Painter.
Uh-oh.
Run break.
Have you considered that you might like a disguise that doesn't involve being wrapped up in veils?
Yes.
Will you let me do your makeup?
No.
You
Think they would be afraid.
You look like you need a ride. You look like you need a ride. I'm here to help, but I don't think that I can fit your friend there. Can you ask them if they are going to eat me?
Depends
In
on
that
your
case-
answer.
My name is Michel Vaillancourt. I'm the games master and storyteller for Unlawful Disorder. I've been asked to give a summary of events of the game, but that seems a little strange because, well, that's the job of the players. Don't ask me what the story is, I'm just the guy telling it. So, let's talk about how we got here. So, about a year ago, I saw a bunch of really talented people doing some really cool stuff, and I thought, well, that's cool, I'll have to keep them in mind. And a little while after that, I got a call from a roleplay channel asking me to set up a game. They wanted a European time zone friendly game. So I went back and I called up the cool people doing the cool stuff. So that would be Shauntelle and company. Cool. So, after that, we took a little bit of time, discussed a good D&D campaign, and I brought forward one of my homebrew worlds. And they looked at me and said, no.
You're sure he's not gonna eat me?
He's not gonna eat you.
Okay, I'm a friend then.
Depends
In
on
that
your
case,
answer.
It's not the name that's on the bounty, and that's all that matters to me.
Okay. Now I just have to remember to respond to it.
Well, you'll do that, won't you, Eric? Eric,
Are you going to eat them?
Considers it.
By the way, you have no clue what she's on about. Like, you've never seen one of these things before.
he's a vegan!
oh, what?
Definitely don't know what that is.
I don't care what he is. He's got big teeth.
You do have big teeth. Not incorrect.
Hugo's grasp of the trade tongue is
Oh,
body.
do you? Oh, do you? What do you eat them?
Sort of looks back up. I will not consume that person.
Could you be a little more generic and just say you're not going to consume anyone in the city as well? Just to make it easier.
That'd be great.
Sort of reverting back to Elvish, like,
Just try.
what language?
know?
I'm not gonna eat people.
I know you're not going to eat people.
Language is hard.
I know. Just say it the way I'm telling you to say it. I'm not going to eat the city.
I'm not gonna eat the city.
Yes.
I'm not gonna eat the city.
Sandra.
Mental image got too funny.
Why hands?
Have you considered that you might like a disguise that doesn't involve being wrapped up in veils?
Yes.
Will you let me do your makeup?
No.
You.
Think they would be afraid.
You look like you need a ride. You look like you need a ride. I'm here to help, but I don't think that I can fit your friend there. Can you ask them if they are going to eat me?
Depends
In
on
that
your
case-
answer.
My name is Michel Vaillancourt. I'm the games master and storyteller for Unlawful Disorder. I've been asked to give a summary of events of the game, but that seems a little strange because, well, that's the job of the players. Don't ask me what the story is, I'm just the guy telling it. So, let's talk about how we got here. So, about a year ago, I saw a bunch of really talented people doing some really cool stuff, and I thought, well, that's cool, I'll have to keep them in mind. And a little while after that, I got a call from a roleplay channel asking me to set up a game. They wanted a European time zone friendly game. So I went back and I called up the cool people doing the cool stuff. So that would be Shauntelle and company. Cool. So, after that, we took a little bit of time, discussed a good D&D campaign, and I brought forward one of my homebrew worlds. And they looked at me and said, no.
You're sure he's not gonna eat me?
He's not gonna eat you.
Okay, I'm a friend then.
Depends
In
on
that
your
case,
answer.
It's not the name that's on the bounty, and that's all that matters to me.
Okay. Now I just have to remember to respond to it.
Well, you'll do that, won't you, Eric? Eric,
Are you going to eat them?
Considers it.
By the way, you have no clue what she's on about. Like, you've never seen one of these things before.
he's a vegan!
oh, what?
Definitely don't know what that is.
I don't care what he is. He's got big teeth.
You do have big teeth. Not incorrect.
His grasp of the trade tongue is
Oh,
body.
do you? Oh, do you? What do you eat them?
Sort of looks back up. I will not consume that person.
Could you be a little more generic and just say you're not going to consume anyone in the city as well, just to make it easier?
That'd be great.
Sort of reverting back to Elvish, like,
Just try.
what language?
You know?
I'm not gonna eat people.
I know you're not going to eat people.
Language is hard.
I know. Just say it the way I'm telling you to say it. I'm not going to eat the city.
I'm not gonna eat the city.
Yes.
I'm not gonna eat the city.
Sam,
Mental image got too funny.
Why hands?
Have you considered that you might like a disguise that doesn't involve being wrapped up in veils?
Yes.
Will you let me do your makeup?
No.
You.
Think they would be afraid.
You look like you need a ride. You look like you need a ride. I'm here to help, but I don't think that I can fit your friend there. Can you ask them if they are going to eat me?
Depends
In
on
that
your
case-
answer.
My name is Michel Vaillancourt. I'm the games master and storyteller for Unlawful Disorder. I've been asked to give a summary of events of the game, but that seems a little strange because, well, that's the job of the players. Don't ask me what the story is, I'm just the guy telling it. So, let's talk about how we got here. So, about a year ago, I saw a bunch of really talented people doing some really cool stuff, and I thought, well, that's cool, I'll have to keep them in mind. And a little while after that, I got a call from a roleplay channel asking me to set up a game. They wanted a European time zone friendly game. So I went back and I called up the cool people doing the cool stuff. So that would be Shauntelle and company. Cool. So, after that, we took a little bit of time, discussed a good D&D campaign, and I brought forward one of my homebrew worlds. And they looked at me and said, no.
You're sure he's not gonna eat me?
He's not gonna eat you.
Okay, I'm a friend then.
Depends
In
on
that
your
case,
answer.
It's not the name that's on the bounty, and that's all that matters to me.
Okay. Now I just have to remember to respond to it.
Well, you'll do that, won't you, Eric? Eric,
Are you going to eat them?
Considers it.
By the way, you have no clue what she's on about. Like, you've never seen one of these things before.
he's a vegan!
oh, what?
Definitely don't know what that is.
I don't care what he is. He's got big teeth.
You do have big teeth. Not
His
incorrect.
grasp of the trade tongue is
Oh,
body.
do you? Oh, do you? What do you eat them?
Sort of looks back up. I will not consume that person.
Could you be a little more generic and just say you're not going to consume anyone in the city as well? Just to make it easier.
That'd be great.
Sort of reverting back to Elvish, like,
Just try.
what language?
You know?
I'm not gonna eat people.
I know you're not going to eat people.
Language is hard.
I know. Just say it the way I'm telling you to say it. I'm not going to eat the city.
I'm not gonna eat the city.
Yes.
I'm not gonna eat the city.
Sam,
Mental image got too funny.
Why hands?
have you considered that you might like a disguise that doesn't involve being wrapped up in veils?
Yes.
Will you let me do your makeup?
No.
You.
Think don't be afraid.
You look like you need a ride. You look like you need a ride. I'm here to help, but I don't think that I can fit your friend there. Can you ask them if they are going to eat me?
Depends
In
on
that
your
case-
answer.
My name is Michel Vaillancourt. I'm the games master and storyteller for Unlawful Disorder. I've been asked to give a summary of events of the game, but that seems a little strange because, well, that's the job of the players. Don't ask me what the story is, I'm just the guy telling it. So, let's talk about how we got here. So, about a year ago, I saw a bunch of really talented people doing some really cool stuff, and I thought, well, that's cool, I'll have to keep them in mind. And a little while after that, I got a call from a roleplay channel asking me to set up a game. They wanted a European time zone friendly game. So I went back and I called up the cool people doing the cool stuff. So that would be Shauntelle and company. Cool. So, after that, we took a little bit of time, discussed a good D&D campaign, and I brought forward one of my homebrew worlds, and they looked at me and said, no.
You're sure he's not gonna eat me?
He's not gonna eat you.
Okay, I'm a friend then.
Depends
In
on
that
your
case,
answer.
It's not the name that's on the bounty, and that's all that matters to me.
Okay. Now I just have to remember to respond to it.
Well, you'll do that, won't you, Eric? Eric,
Are you going to eat them?
Considers it.
By the way, you have no clue what she's on about. Like, you've never seen one of these things before.
he's a vegan!
Oh, what?
Definitely don't know what that is.
I don't care what he is. He's got big teeth.
You do have big teeth. Nothing.
Hero's grasp of the trade tongue is
Oh,
body.
do you? Oh, do you? What do you eat them?
Sort of looks back up. I will not consume that person.
Could you be a little more generic and just say you're not going to consume anyone in the city as well? Just to make it easier.
That'd be great.
So reverting back to Elder, like,
Just try.
what language?
know?
I'm not gonna eat people.
I know you're not going to eat people.
Language is hard.
I know. Just say it the way I'm telling you to say it. I'm not going to eat the city.
I'm not gonna eat the city. I'm
Yes.
not gonna eat the city. I'm not gonna eat the city.
Sam, bro.
Mental image got too funny.
Why hands?
have you considered that you might like a disguise that doesn't involve being wrapped up in veils?
Yes.
Will you let me do your makeup?
No.
You.
Think you might be afraid.
You look like you need a ride. You look like you need a ride. I'm here to help, but I don't think that I can fit your friend there. Can you ask them if they are going to eat me?
Ends
In
on
that
your
case-
answer.
We're back.
We are indeed.
Welcome back.
What's up, lads?
Um,
Lads and
So-
lasses.
as promised, we will see the result of Sufia's
Uh-oh.
casting.
Just at Sufia.
So, Sufia, go ahead and draw 2 cards.
Okay.
And what exactly would you like, or does Sufia wish to have manifest? Is it what was described before, or did you have something else in mind?
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay.
Emotions
because
are swirling about you chaotically.
because I succeeded so grossly last time. Does that pull forward at all?
Yes, so you have a +2 again.
Okay. Interesting. I'm wondering whether to go. Well, I feel like I have to go with hearts because that gross little 7 over there. All right. So I think what started as just a practical measure of basically what Sophia was going to do was a magical version of pocket dust, and basically blind them with potential images of their own death, right? To be like a physical distraction, because all they could see were these visions, hallucinations, whatever they were. However, I feel like Sophia got a little drunk on those emotions, and now the chaos of it all has, or like just sipped a little bit too much in that ethereal cup, and now is a little bit overcome by it all, because I feel
it's
like
been quite a dry spell since Sophia's
yes,
dabbled in any of this.
exactly. They have only had one vision for a very long time. They've only been drinking beer, and now they're on tequila, and it is rough. And so I think there's a little bit of anger, whether it's misplaced or not. We'll find out. At Sufia believes that there is one end. It is death. How that happens, death decides, right? Prophecies are like, sure, they may happen, but death is always going to happen. So the idea of these 3 being so intent on creating or like drawing a specific path for Omar and not allowing them to kind of carve their own path is frustrating to them. And therefore it is now semi-personal, because it feels like you're spitting in the face of death. So I'm going to play the 9 of hearts. Now I will say there's a piece of the painter's set that is wrapped around one tooth of Sophia, because sometimes they use their own blood as paint.
Okay.
And so grasping the sand, the physical embodiments of these abductors, they're going to mix it, cut their thumb and put it into the sand to kind of connect both that and their individual. So I'm going to say there's a +1 because they're using painter's set as well. It's an affinity suit because it is hearts. So that's a +2.
So that's a 23.
And then they're going to use, I don't know whether they use ethereal or empath. I suppose empath is more like you're trying to use your emotions to make a resolution that's nice.
No, none of these are good versus evil, nice versus mean. They run the full spectrum. Just like with motivator, you can motivate with fear as much as you can motivate with other things. Empath, you can instill understanding. You can also manipulate and twist and destroy.
Okay. All right. Then I'm going to use empath because I feel like let's keep it in that hearts feel.
Okay. What's the base on that then?
9 as well.
9 as well. Okay. So 23 is where you're at. And in this case, we're back to an 18 because you're targeting all 3 of them. I'm basically giving them a base 6 each and giving you a base rating of 18. So you succeed.
Sick. Don't need to click that. Okay. So if I succeed, then this is the visuals I will go with.
Tell us what it looks like from Sophia's side.
So I feel like anyone not looking at Sophia but has them in their peripheries will see this kind of almost like a font of ethereal energy. And this, sorry if you can hear my cat having a shit. Just chucking cat litter everywhere.
Anyone who's not Sophia can hear.
Just mischief in the corner, like,
I'm just going to take mischief, not now. It's raining in here. Have you any idea what that's going to do?
So there's this, they become like this font of ethereal energy, but when you look at them, there is that purple hue kind of goes away. The only thing that you do see in this purplish hue is like almost like a small slither of thread coming from out of one of their big sleeves and wrapping around their hand and leaving from one of their pointer fingers. And it's almost intangible. And then at one point they grip the thread and there's like 1 minute Sophia's there, the next minute they're not. And it's almost like they've been pulled along by this thread behind one of, so one of them's laying down. One of them's being tackled.
They're kind of both holding on to the spear as it's being pressed, and they're on one knee. Morgan has the upper hand and it's like shoving them down with it.
Awesome. And then there's one holding Omar who hasn't been touched yet.
Who, well, aetherally was touched by John Doe and severed from the ritual.
Sick. Okay, so Indy, first you see appear next to you. You've still got your head against this person's head. I suppose you can decide how it happens, but you feel here there is a presence in the brain, in the
my
telepathy.
There's someone in the area.
There's someone
their
in the area.
head.
Yes.
So it's not your head, but because you're connecting to them, but it's their head. And physically, you see Sophia take their thumb, and it's kind of drenched in the blood and sand mixture, and across one eye they swipe that mixture, and you're engulfed by visuals. Then Morgan, you see that person that you're kind of pressing up against. Sophia then is behind them, swipes on their eye. And then the last person, Sophia takes the entire hand and wipes it across their eye. And they say, there is one thing that brings order to everything. Life is chaos. Life is happenstance. Life is joy. Death is order. It is time to bring order to this. And then that's it. Find out what happens after.
Fucking dope.
And then I'm assuming Sophia then reappears where they left.
Yes.
Near the stairs.
Yep.
And we'll go around with each one of those different positions. But as this is happening, there's going to be other noises and sounds. Some is that of crying out. Some is clanging. Others are the sound of crackling fire or lightning. And yet, let's see, for both John Doe and Indy, we'll assume this is an automatic success. For everyone other, well, no, even Sophia, what is your base inquisitive?
Base inquisitive, I believe it's just a 6. Yeah.
Okay. Let me know if it's 9 or above. Michelle, is Anaton's 9 or above?
Just one sec. Sorry, I missed
same
that.
Same with Jamie. Morgan is Morgan's inquisitive 9 or above?
Yeah.
Inquisitive.
Inquisitive 12.
No, inquisitive for him is 6.
Okay. So at the 6, there's a cacophony of different sounds that you can pick up on. But this doesn't stand out to those that are below a 9. For those that are at or above or have heard it before, there's a certain pitch to the sound of a train whistle. A ghostly feel. And to those that did not hear it, though, there's a slight shiver that goes through your body. And I'm going to start with those who are directly engaged with Indy and Morgan, and then to John Doe, and then to Anaton, and kind of show you what you see as it comes, as we spiral out from the circle. And you'll have Morgan. You would be positioned probably the furthest from the stairwell, and you're shoving the person out of the circle, so your back is to the stairs, so you're not going to see the apparition of a train that comes to a halt in that large archway, in that tunnel that appeared a few rounds ago. But you will see the person in front of you like go pale and slack-jawed, and they stop fighting and fall backwards as what to them is the potential deaths that they can see, past, present, and future.
And I can just hear the sound of this train and
the sound of the train is mixed amongst the other things. You heard the whistle, you heard the brakes that came to as you finish this. And the person in front of you falls to the floor in terror.
Nadine, I have a question for you.
See.
Was there an image of death for this person, which included him getting stabbed by a spear right here, right now?
Is that something that you wanted to do?
That seems awfully specific.
If you had made the choice at any point that you were going to do that was a possibility that you were going to do, then yes.
Yeah, Morgan would have definitely considered it as a possibility, but was trying to avoid it.
If it was a possibility, then yes, it would have existed.
Oh, then I guess that's what happens.
I'm not making you do it.
No.
Make the choice.
I like that. That's why I like it, because I think it's like almost an accident where they're struggling over the spear, and then there's like a sudden lack of tension because he falls to the ground screaming, and the spear just like skewers through his shoulder right above the heart, and it's like not a quick death, just like blood starts welling out, and Morgan's just like looking down like, what the hell just happened?
Heck.
I mean, Indy would never kill someone, so I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
Do you want to know what I would have them envision?
Yes.
So whatever. It's like an amalgamation of all of the possibilities. It's like when if you put your face right up to a tapestry, it doesn't make sense. It's all just a bunch of threads, right? But the further and further you step back, the clearer the image gets. Sophia has the ability to step further and further back and see the clearer image. They're stepping forward, stepping back, stepping forward, stepping back, stepping forward, stepping back. They're seeing all of it that could be, that might be, that will be, maybe, question mark. And that's just bombarding them.
So
all to do with their deaths.
So the most, you know what? I imagine that it would be something to do with a natural disaster, because there are two, not one, silent walkers here, and one of them has their forehead pressed up against his.
Mentally, what comes to mind is, let's see, I need a quick, someone give me a number between 1 and 12 again.
7.
11.
Oh.
Okay, I've got 11. That was the fastest. Where are we? Houses, 11 is, okay. They find themselves, you see them actually ushering out, evacuating a town, village. It's a small settlement of some sort, from a mountainside as a volcano is erupting. There's a flash. They shoo people on. They then turn back around and face what looks like some form of pachyderm, elephant, composite of magma, the size of a mammoth, careening toward them and those in which they stand between. And they hold the line as it blinks out. It is not now. You've heard of no such thing. It could be in the past, maybe from the decimated days, a possible death that passed at one point, or it could be sometime in the future. But that's the one that is front and center. The connection severs as the hooded figure, the Kisnuak that you have beneath you, passes out.
I mean, I'll remove my forehead and take the hand from the mouth. And stay nearby. Look for Omar. Does this baby need catching?
Omar is in the hands, or was in the hands, of the third hooded figure. And John Doe, as your closest, you'd see as that person seems to just stand extremely still, almost stone still, paralyzed as these images thrust themselves into view. They seem trapped, frozen in place.
I think because John Doe had just tried to, well, had just been mucking with that flow of power. And so as this person sort of becomes still and kind of in quite a
if you still have an eye toward the ethereal, you will note that ethereal energy, that it has no direction currently, is winding itself around the person like a constrictor might around its prey.
I think seeing that, Donda's going to try to like sort of simultaneously, in one hand, it's kind of like taking Omar,
Mm-hmm.
and in the other hand, just sort of like palm strike to the chest to this person, sort of put distance and get distance from both this person and whatever's happening on the ethereal level, and then for like just distance again for John Doe and Omar away from whatever's happening to this person.
As John Doe does that, the person doesn't seem to stumble. They just tip over and fall, not even catching themselves or changing position. There's a rumble in the earth below. And Anaton, you'll notice this more than any as you are unoccupied by other things. The rain has kind of kept the dust at bay, but there is bits and pieces of this building that are shifting and crumbling above. You notice the train.
Good.
It's an apparition of a train. But it's definitely tangible. And you clearly hear someone yell out, "All aboard!"
Anytime it will turn to face the others, gesture towards the train. There'll be time to dance in the rain another day. It's time to leave. Come.
Yeah, I think Morgan is finally sort of snapped out of the, trance of watching himself accidentally kill someone. For all of his bodyguardiness, I think this is the first time that's happened.
Oops.
Well, yes.
Like,
Bodyguard,
not just
not-
accidentally. And then how is Omar responding to everything going on right now? Is he crying? Is he still
Omar's
giggling?
walked out
Or-
and he's heading onto the ghost train.
Omar is in John Doe's arms.
Yeah.
And seems to be sucking his thumb.
Yeah. I think there's like that moment of coming out of that reverie and then just being like, right, we have to return the child. What do we do? It's like looking at this oncoming ghost train.
Oh no, it's parked.
Oh, it stopped.
It's not. It stopped. Yes.
Okay, I missed that. Sorry.
Yep, it stopped in the doorway. And
all right where we need to go. Yeah, cool.
You all will hear at this point the conductor say, "All aboard! Last call."
I suppose that's our call.
Well, it's either that or we're trying to run all the way up to the surface before the roof collapses.
We're gonna get on that thing. Right.
Just think of the adventure.
Yeah.
As always, Eniton will bring up the rear as everyone else climbs aboard or doesn't. But
Sophia, how do you react to this train appearing behind you?
Sufi's pretty out of it right now, like sweaty upper lip, like keeled over, not vibing on a great level, because that wasn't very balanced of them, and it doesn't feel good.
Morgan will scoop up under one shoulder as he goes past.
Indy will head over to the conductor and say, "One moment, please."
Ghost train, chill.
The conductor nods and waves you all to board.
Eniton is going to take out their compass. Which way does it point?
Points toward the archway where the train is.
Then that's the direction they're going.
Onto the train.
I think as John Doe turns away from this person and heads towards the train, anyone attuned to the ethereal, probably out of the corner of the eye, might see like this purpley, smoky sort of silhouette roughly where Jondo had been standing, just for a moment, sort of stays there for a little bit and then dissipates. And it's sort of like, if trying to like classify what it is you're looking at, would probably like the best description is like, I think that's the thing that chases me in my nightmares. But like, not the thing. It's like as if that was a creature type. It's like, that's one of.
Yeah.
No, it's not like your personal one. It's like, that's one of those things. And it's like, that's not a thought I've had before.
Luckily, I'm not
just
looking.
Like, it just sort of, and it's only there for a moment, like a sort of blink and you'd miss it, sort of thing.
And looking.
And then he gets onto the train and looks at like the rest of the group, and is just like, I don't know who gave all of you permission to be this fierce, but I want their names. I want their locations so I can find them and thank them for the joy that they are bringing to my life. And then just sits down.
And after Morgan helps Sophia to get on the train, he then like stands at the doorway and looks out and he says, "Come on." And there's just like Mischief's just like standing over the one that passed out and fell over and is just like sniffing at them. Looks over and then like leaps, even though Mischief's like way too far away, and midair like puffs out and then puffs into existence like right next to him and finishes the landing.
Love it.
I think Sophia like put a hand on Morgan's arm, and when they look up, like, you did not kill them. They were on their way already.
The very slow head. You and I are going to need to have a chat about that.
Maybe when you're older.
Oof.
Fits very well with the Queen of Spades. Also sometimes known as the Queen of Shade.
Yeah, that leaves Morgan nice and speechless. I mean,
I love it. And Indy and Anaton, I'm assuming you also board as everybody makes their way on.
Oh, absolutely. Indy was essentially doing the same as like holding the door.
Mm-hmm.
So
The elevator,
leave.
like,
It's like,
Gotcha.
yeah. We're going.
Yeah. So
And
the two walkers are the last ones to get on and ride. Yes.
as it makes sense. You find yourself in a passenger car. It's quite posh. There are a handful of others there, but more than enough space for you to sit together or apart or wherever you decide. And the train begins to pull away. And if in your periphery, Jondo, that puff, that outline of purples, was that an allusion to Jondo's other self?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Well, a self that was being gathered at that time.
Gotcha. You'll notice it as it reforms and disappears again, as though it's walking toward the train. Out of your periphery, though, its face does not look like one that you have ever donned, but instead, like one that you thought many years ago you may have vanquished.
Oh, you're now locked on a ghost train with them. Have fun. I mean,
Yeah, but not that one of him. That's the important thing. It's not that one.
Yeah.
So at this point, we'll kind of wrap up. What adventure happens on that train, where it ends up before Omar reaches home, is a tale yet to be told. But what we do know is that Omar is reunited with his mother, as per the Queen tells us in our spread. And we find that there is much to be learned if one chooses to interrogate what they've seen and what they encountered. That the past, present, and
Michelle.
future all kind of live together. Do we lose Michelle?
We did, yes.
Oh no.
I'm sure
Oh no.
Michelle will return it on.
So I want to thank you all for this mini little adventure that we cobbled together. And I know off screen we talked a little bit about how magic being slower is not intended for the action sequence of the encounters, and as such it kind of disrupts the flow of things. That is an intentional design from the beginning. Whether or not it's something that makes its way to the final version, as this is an alpha playtest, is something yet to be seen. But one of the things that we wanted to do was to create a world where magic has a major impact, but not because necessarily it is instantaneous, but because it's infrastructure related. And so to do that, infrastructure typically takes time. It takes resources, it takes intent, it takes investment in order to create. And giving it a ritual feel causes that to not be something that's typically done in most encounters, but it can be done, as we saw today. So I know I'll kind of pause on that to see if Michelle comes back, because I know Michelle has some thoughts on that we may want to capture. So outside of that kind of pacing piece, let's just kind of start with Jamie and what, reflecting on Omens Rising, what you've seen in a rules taught sort of way, rather than having the book to kind of dig into and reference as you go. How was it?
It was great. I'm very, like, as a player, I like to manipulate the toggles. I like playing with the mechanics, and so playing kind of in the dark was interesting in, like, as a personal experience in terms of, but it actually as a system kind of works well for that, because there is so much freedom in the sense of being story driven first, and so
the mechanics are there to support the story rather than to drive the story.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, I think there's like such an intricate interplay between those two things, because I like not necessarily like to the degree of here's the list of actions you can take, you know, in like a traditional D20 RPG or whatever, but there's just enough for me. There's just enough hint of like what the expectation of characters is based on what the attributes are. And it's like these are the realms in which you should be thinking about what action you take. And then, as we discussed, I think last episode or the episode before, the cards that you have in hand give you such like they give you that flavor. It's like they fill that list of actions mechanical thing of, it's like, oh, this is the lens, and then you can be surprised when you draw something. So like when I did that sort of intimidation thing, the one after the intimidation, the feint and stuff, I was expecting that to be more about getting caught up in Morgan's emotions, because I had an ace of hearts sitting in hand, and then just the way I happened to describe it and drawing a diamond at the same time, I was like, no, this is really much more about the physical. That I don't think this is actually like he was on that precipice, and that's what having the card in hand gave me. And then seeing another card influence my play was like, oh, that's really cool. And I think I found that like very, very cool, because there's like this interplay between, the essentially random number generator of using a deck of cards, but more than just number generation, because the suits carry so much flavor. And I wish I knew more about cartomancy at this point, like not where I didn't only think of the numbers as numbers, because a lot of the time when you were describing the flavor of each card, like the sevens and that they kept showing up and stuff, that stuff like really resonated for me as well. So
well, just so you know, in the beta version, there will be a brief chart on both, like it's basically the keywords that we use during the like party cohesion spread that give you like that you can refer to as kind of like themes of each card.
Yeah, that's so
you'll be able to reference that as you look at what you're playing. And none of that is necessary for the game, but it definitely can add flavor or flair or whatever you want to,
I feel like the system as I experienced it is very friendly to like new players or players who are just looking for a new experience, because of that focus on the narrative first aspect. As someone who likes crunchiness in games, I'd be the one that had all those spreadsheets open, but it's crunchy in a different way. It's not like, oh, how do I optimize my action to make sure I get the most numbers? And that's why I sort of asked that question about success, because I had that feeling, and I think we'd had that discussion briefly before as well. It's like I wasn't, because from what I could tell about the encounter, we were eventually going to reach that number of successes. I wasn't quite sure about like what the consequences of failure were, and that's maybe something.
The consequence of failure would have been that they somehow got the spell off, or they escaped with Omar in another alternate route.
So, sorry, I meant like the immediate consequences of failure on an individual.
Oh yeah.
So like, how long did we have? Was it the 5
till the end of the encounter?
Right. So if we'd gotten to all 5 cards drawn and we hadn't reached the number of successes, that makes sense to me. See, that I think I sort of had intuited that, but I hadn't quite heard it.
I think off screen I had explained it once at the end of last session as to what to expect this time, but I forgot to revisit that when we started this session, and that's on me.
It did make sense. It did, like I had the feeling that that's what was at stake. I just hadn't quite literalized. That's not a word. Whatever.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and so I was just playing moment to moment, and that was enough for me. Like I really enjoyed that feeling as well.
Now, Nadine, as the one who got kind of sidebarred in a sense, casting a spell. Well, not just that, but your overall experience. How was it?
Overall experience is great. I fucking love this game. I want to play like 85 more sessions. Yes, I love narrative style gaming. So this is a joy for me. The fact that I got to do like cool anime shit, hello, yes, I'm gonna love this game. Yes, I really like that I mean, I just kind of be reiterating what Jamie said, the fact that the cards help you, the cards kind of say, throw little curveballs whenever you draw your additional 2. Because you sit there, and I did it multiple times. If I sat there, I was like, okay, I have a plan. I'm going to use this queen of clubs. It's going to be great. And then I'll get like a 7 of diamonds, and I'll be like, oh shit, land. I didn't think about land. Oh, maybe I like land. And that will be cool and kind of, or if you get like a really shit card, because I got like 2 2s in the last draw, and I was like, that it makes sense to me, because I'm about to, my origin is something to do with preserving the balance, and if it manifests itself, then your aetherial self just like flourishes.
Yeah.
So it made sense that, because now I have a 2 in my hand, that my aetherial self is super low right now, because I did exactly what I'm not supposed to do. I didn't preserve the balance. And so my aetherial self isn't flourishing. And that was it just kind of adds to the storytelling.
Yep. And you could have leaned into that. Absolutely. And if you would have failed by 50% or more, you would have been a step toward leveling up in whatever aptitude you were working on. So there's no downside to leaning into that kind of like, my character naturally went against type, and now here's kind of the repercussions of that.
Yeah.
And playing into that, because that's the cards that you were dealt, is still rewarded in this game. So, because individual failure isn't the end of a story. It's the continuation of a story.
Exactly. And I've always loved games that also reward failure or make failure interesting. And this is a game that makes failure interesting and also rewards it. So happy to dean.
That I find that because it's the only thing I know about advancement in the system so far. Fascinating that it's both critical failure and success that learning, and I think that was like really cool when you first revealed that to me, and it made me want to drive for both high and low numbers. I was like, how can I find a way to use this 2 I just drew? But oh no.
I think what I like about that especially is that it pushes you in the direction of what you think is most narratively interesting, rather than just trying to go for bump the numbers up, which is very, very commonly done, and people get mad at me for doing deliberately in a lot of other games.
I mean,
I still have one of my 2s, and if we were to continue and I were to try and use magic again, or use my aetherial self again, I want to use that too. Because I know narratively Sophia's drained as fuck.
The other thing you can do is always play offsuit, which is only 1 point.
That's right.
Even better, so that's great.
Which can fit into it, be like, I've taxed myself so much that I'm relying on the wrong part of self in order to try and do something with a different part of self.
Yeah.
And some people could see that as min-maxing, but our primary guideline is, does it move the narrative forward? If it does, it doesn't matter if every one of you succeeds with a critical success every time that you try, as long as it's moving the narrative forward in a way that is enjoyable. And if somebody actively tries to critically fail, it's not undermining the group. It's moving the story forward in a specific way. You're not holding back. It needs to be done in a way that pushes the narrative forward. Like, that is a requirement of critical failure in our rules. So, and then you and the GM kind of work out, what does that look like? The GM kind of conceiving what the reaction to that failure around you might be, and you conceiving of how that might impact the character. And you come to some sort of, oh, wouldn't this be cool kind of thing.
Yeah, because I
So-
suppose looking at like what I did was a semi-critical success, right? At the end. I designed it so that I could do that. So I bumped it up as much as I could, but I was bumping it up with the idea that I wanted Sophia to suffer for it rather than you did really good and you hit real hard. That's sure, that was like one end of it. But the reason I wanted it to succeed so well is that so on the flip side, it was actually a failure. And I think with this system, it really allows you to, even if you're succeeding, that doesn't mean technically you're succeeding with your character's story or your character's goal. Which is cool. It gives you so much room for activities.
And that takes you to the impairment side of things, doesn't it? Like that level of success, or you just
you could and there is precedent where you could, as a critical failure, you could take an impairment to one of your connections as part of that. It doesn't have to be that. It can be a variety of things, but it definitely can be that. And that's the easiest one to do, mechanically speaking, if you want a one-to-one. The other piece that's involved in there that we didn't get to, and I cut it out because of time, is there's technically a fourth round with any spell, and that's investing energy and balancing the aether that you just drew. And you can choose to skip that. And if you choose to skip that, that means somewhere in the world, it could be near you or it could be elsewhere, the world is balancing itself. And
sinkhole just opened and it has Sophia's name on it.
And just because like I knew we didn't have the time for it, that's kind of why I was planning on putting in the temptation of the ghost train anyway, just for fun. Ever since that was ever brought up, just because it was fun. But with that whole piece, I was like, oh, let's put in like let's have the ruins start crumbling. Because I could tell that Sophia had no intention of trying to balance what they just did. So I just leaned into it rather than putting it out there in the, for the sake of time, but also it just felt right narratively. And so we went that route. Yes, Sam.
As we were saying, we talked a little bit during the break, and I mentioned how before that point, it'd been unclear to me, sort of, the difference between doing this ritual magic, which takes three or four rounds to do, and as Shauntelle was doing was going up and just like interrupting these nodes using his ethereal attribute, which still felt magical, I guess.
And it is in a sense. It's ethereal, yeah.
But then as you sort of explaining how it was like that each round of this magic was a specific thing, like you were doing very specific tasks. That sort of was like, just narratively, not just mechanically, but like it just widens the scope. And then obviously what we then had when these magics did actually come off is that they were much, much more effective than anything else we had done individually. It was suddenly this massive thing, which, as you said, could also have this massive backlash as well. And so it has this, it took a long time, but it was this massive payoff, and it was like the scope of what you might do, rather in John Doe's case, it being kind of almost narrative flavor.
Well, yeah, and it was interacting with the challenge, and the challenge itself was a magic ritual, and so it made sense for John Doe to take an action that interacted with the magic ritual to decrease the challenge or to impair the ability for that ritual to happen. But to cast a spell, and just so anyone watching this knows what we set off screen, has 4 elements. For round 1 is drawing energy. Well, the first action is drawing energy. If you don't draw enough to reach your target or past your target to enough points to move on to maybe a weaker element of your conduit, or you're trying to do something really massive in its effect, so you want those bonuses, you would draw another card and just stay on that action until you've reached enough points. And that would be a new round each time you drew a card and added it to it. So you would have your drawing of energy. You're now running it through whatever the conduit is. The more tangible and stable, like that carved teleportation circle with all of the runes and then the nodes being added to it and all the different components, that is a much more stable conduit than a stick figure drawing in the sand, right? So it's a much lower target number to interact with that, but it's a much bigger effect that they're going for. So they want to surpass that number by enough to gain enough bonuses to make sure they meet their effect as quick as possible. Does that make sense? And with the successes that you had, and I didn't want to get into this too much and slow down the encounter, so it was a little bit for the sake of pace. For every 4 you surpass your target number by when casting, you gain a +1 onto the next magical action. So that allows you to kind of bump it up. So if you really want to do some sort of epic level effect, you're just stacking those bonuses to try and get as many of them as you can on the last one. So that way you can reach that 36 or whatever it is that you might need for this epic world shaking, spell that you are as a supervillain or whatever the case may be, right? The death ray that you're trying to launch. That's kind of how that all plays out, mechanically speaking. But, and then the third one is the effect, which I kind of mentioned. Then the fourth one is balancing that energy so it doesn't have a backlash on you. Or we talked about drain, like you can soak it as balance and take an impairment, depending on how many successes you had on your effect or how big it was, will affect how many points of impairment you have. Like if it's a -1, -3, or -5 level impairment that you take to balance it. So you could soak it on yourself, or you could take the time to balance the energies in a more ritualistic sort of way. And your target number would be based on the size of the effect that you made. So if the target number for your effect was a 36 and you want to balance something that massive, you're probably going to be looking to hit a 36 in your balancing as well, which could take some time. Does that make sense? Now, most spells are a much lower number for their effects because people, like with the rain, not that high of an effect. Or high of a target number. We had a 14. So you'd be looking to reach a 14 again to balance that. So it might only take one round to do that. But that's kind of the peeling back of the curtain. And I didn't know how much we'd get into magic or not. So I didn't want to front load a bunch of information when really the encounter was more the star than the spell casting. And the spellcasting ended up augmenting that. So it turned out quite wonderfully. Shauntelle or Sam, any other parting words before we wrap up this finale?
I did. And I appreciate, I guess, you picking up what I was putting down at the end there. That was a nice little referencing.
Well, I was wondering about that because I had made a note. You talked about vanquishing that dream demon or monster, and I was like,
I think it was like he had done something, and then it was like the problem stopped, and Joe left. It was just like, "Yep, don't worry about it. It's gone now." Anyway.
Yeah, and it's not gone. It just
finished.
It left with John Doe. Yeah. Great. One of the things that's interesting about
fantastic
that I didn't really get a chance to dig into because it wasn't part of our plot was monsters in this world are creations of the peoples themselves, their beliefs, their fears, their folklore. All of that creates these monsters, and until you combat that belief, that monster exists.
Yeah.
So
That's
Yay.
you can like physically vanquish it all you want. It's going to pop back up eventually because people still believe in it.
Hey, this isn't psychotherapy. Get out of here.
Well, what I wanted to simulate with that was twofold. Well, the one thing I really wanted to tackle was monsters being inherently evil kind of thing, like the whole moralistic piece, but also like this is supposed to be inspired by JRPGs. How do you create respawning without it being cheesy?
Yeah.
Here's respawning. You didn't stop the belief, and because you didn't stop the belief, the monster still exists. It's also kind of like the end of some horror films. Like you think that you killed the whatever it is, and they're all leaving the place, and in the background you kind of see the person pop up again. You know, waiting for the next group of teenagers or whatever it is that stumble into the haunted mansion, like that kind of thing. I wanted there to be that feeling of that respawn feeling of being able to revisit a story without it feel like you're grinding or literally repeating. What you are is you are working against a strongly held belief.
I had, and it didn't end up having a situation where it narratively worked, so I didn't do it. But I had toyed with the idea, as given that the reverie is all very interacting with this this waking dream essentially. In that, like, dreams aren't always nice essence, where it's like, if it comes to throwing down, as it were, taps into a much nastier aspect of the dream and the shape-shifting nature of them, of the reverie. But it wasn't.
Yeah, I think
it wasn't the narrative for that in that moment for John Doe.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, obviously we were also working to a very specific and limited time scale, because like even within the story of what we were doing, there would have been that opportunity. What is it? What's the next level where we have to fight the monster that's created by the belief in these people should be following their prophecy and whatever else? That's the next confrontation, and that's really interesting.
It does have like a what game is it? It's Deadlands. Is it Deadlands, the Savage World one, where it's like it's not enough to beat the enemy. You have to convince people that it's not a problem anymore. And so like having a person in your party who is essentially a bard who can sort of go back and is like, it's okay. We're done now. It's like, otherwise the world just gets worse. It doesn't matter because everyone just believes it's worse.
Yeah, that could definitely play a role. Sometimes it's about closure. Sometimes it's about in the sense of like emotional closure. And sometimes it's about convincing them that it's done, that it's finished. Lots of different angles that could be taken there. And it's open-ended on purpose. So, but we've hit time and actually a couple minutes past. So Shauntelle, I turn it back to you and want to say thank you to you and everyone here at Lost Worlds Archive for affording me this opportunity to share Omens Rising with you all. What do you guys have next on the horizon?
Tomorrow we have Unlawful Disorder, where we're dealing with more prophecy.
There's a lot of prophecy in the game too.
There's a lot of prophecy going around in a lot of games at the moment, actually, because on Sunday US time, I believe, we will also be playing Daybreak Prep, which is a Monster Hearts game, and there is also prophecy in that we have an oracle who's giving some creepy vibes. But it's also
that one's about
lovely.
death as well.
That one's
It's another person who sees death.
There's a lot of death going around, a lot of prophecy going around, but I am going to prophesy that we're leaving. Say good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah, enjoy your eggs.